Are you listening? Damn. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to the Brickyard. I'm Ira Levins.
Hey, I'm Mark Levins.
And the day is, what's the day? The day is the 29th of September, 2021. What's today's date?
Today's date is,
What's the date?
Today is Wednesday.
Today is Wednesday. Okay.
And I want to give a special shout out to my homeboy Terry McConaughey. Birthday today.
Pip's birthday is today.
Pip's birthday is today.
All right. So do we want to do this? Do we want to go through this? Because
Let's go through.
When we were growing up, my birthday was always on the 28th, which was yesterday. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday. Belated birthday.
Terry McConaughey, we grew up with the McConaughey's. Nickname is Pip. His birthday is 29th.
29th.
Right? His sister's birthday, Vicky, who I went to school with, grew up with, knew her since I was knee high to a pop bottle. Me and Vicky came up together. Her birthday was always on 30th, right?
Exactly.
All right, but we find out that her birthday is actually yesterday.
Yes. Happy belated birthday, Vicky.
So all this time, me and Vicky had the same birthday.
Yes.
I didn't know. I've been telling her happy birthday for 57 years on the wrong date. So.
And also, my oldest brother, Lando, our oldest brother, Lando, birthday was on the 27th? 2 days ago.
2 days ago. Yeah.
And your oldest son birthday was on the 26th.
26. So they got 26, 27, 28, 29, and 30.
But there's no 30 anymore.
There's no 30. Well, yeah. Yeah, you're right. There's no 30 anymore. So it's 26, 27, 28, 28, 29. All right. So
right.
We'll see if we can remember that next year. Hopefully we can. All right. So great show. The first show we did. Of course, we were trying to get back every week, but we couldn't get back for a couple of weeks because we had a family emergency. I guess when you do a podcast with your brother, a family emergency means the whole thing goes down.
There's
right?
Nothing.
Yeah, there's zero. So you and I took care. Well, not you, just you and I, but me, you, and our brothers took care of the family emergency. So now we're back, and hopefully we're just going to keep this thing going every week until hopefully nothing else comes up, or if something else comes up, then we'll always try to get back as soon as we can. So, so we're back after a couple of weeks, and we had a pretty good turnout relative to people actually listening or viewing the podcast and listening, which was fantastic to me because the first thing we thought, what we said, if we get like 10 people, right? That's like an Emmy to me. That's like an Oscar.
If we got 5 people to listen, that's 100,000 there.
Yeah, that's 100,000. I want an award for 5, but that's pretty cool though. But we did get a couple of comments back, which was fantastic. And one of the comments we got back was one of those duh moments for me, at least, and it was, we need to talk about what we're going to talk about during the podcast, right? So, so keeping with that suggestion, which was a great suggestion, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about what we're gonna talk about during this podcast. So, first thing we want to do is go over the top 25, mainly the top 10. Go through a little bit of the AP top 10, top 25 college football, because let's face the facts, that's what we live and breathe, especially during this time of year. So we're going to go over the top 10. We're going to talk a little Auburn football with an incident that happened with Auburn football. Not necessarily an incident, but a firing that came at Auburn that you and I both thought was kind of what's the word, weird, I guess. It seemed like an odd firing at this point during the year. What else we're going to talk about? Top 10, top 25.
Top
Go ahead.
25 in matchups, the key matchups
The
for
key,
this coming Saturday.
absolutely, key matchup this coming Saturday. Uh, One of them, I think both of us really talked about was the Georgia Arkansas matchup, which is I think is the biggest one. You had a different perspective on that, right?
I think the Alabama Ole Miss will be the biggest game
Yeah. So
this weekend.
that's going to be interesting because I really think Georgia and Arkansas is probably going to be a better game than Alabama Ole Miss. I hope so. Being a Bama fan, full disclosure. Uh, but we're going to talk about that, and then at the end, um, we're going to talk about what has to be the strangest ending to a high school football game ever. I mean, if another game has ended anything like this before, it's news to me, right? But we're gonna go into that and talk
And
about the end of that football game.
and a lot of people will relate to this because there were a lot of people from the city at that game. It's a homecoming game.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you'll
yeah,
know exactly what we're talking about.
yeah. I've never and again, like we were talking about a couple of days ago when we were texting back and forth. I've been around high school football, at least 40 years. At least at least 40 years. Never saw anything like that before in my life. Amazing ending to a game uh, that featured our Fairfield Tigers and Jackson Nolan. So we'll talk about that. So let's go ahead and get it kicked off, and let's talk about the top 25. Let's go through the top 25. Now, I like using the AP top 25. A lot of people like using the coaches poll. I use the AP top 25. I think it's a little bit less biased. I would imagine.
Yes.
I thought it'd be a little bit less biased because of the region, the regionality, and the coaches may be leaning to it. But I guess you get that with the writers too. Uh, but anyway, so number one, Alabama. Number two, Georgia. Three is still Oregon. Oregon is like one of those teams that every year we have in Oregon, right? If it's not Oregon, maybe it's Wisconsin. If it's not Wisconsin, it's
That's a Notre Dame or somebody like
Notre
that.
Dame, right? It's always one of these darlings from a conference, um, and I hate to say a conference, not the SEC, but a conference that we don't get a whole lot of. We don't see them a whole lot in the East, and then when we do see them, most of the time, no, this is not no big hit on Oregon, but when we do get to see them, they're getting like drug up and down the field in in the in the college football
Football.
playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I'm sure they made decent showing in the past, but most of the time it's just they're just getting beat to death by some team out of the East or even out of the Big Ten most once I think once. Anyway, so Oregon at number three, Penn State at number four, Iowa at number five. Iowa's had some big wins this year, and that's interesting in that you have Penn State and Iowa both out of the Big Ten, both in the top five. Oklahoma at six, which you know,
That's debatable.
yeah, Oklahoma had to pull off some magic to get past through that K State, right?
Right.
Yeah. Cincinnati at seven. Um, the new darlings of the SEC, man, the new darlings of college football coming in at eight, man. Arkansas, right?
Yes.
Um, Arkansas is one of these teams that I find myself wanting them to be good. I find myself wanting them to win, unless when as soon as they start, as soon as they line up against Bama, I hope they just get drug up and down the field. But it's one of those teams that you say, yeah, you can remember when they were decent, and then all that stuff happened with Petrino, and then the program just you know took a nosedive for a few years, and now they're back. I think that I really like Auburn. I mean Arkansas at number eight, Notre Dame at nine, and Florida at 10 with a loss. Right, their loss is to Alabama, but they're the only one loss team in the top 10.
I'll say from 5 to 10. I can kind of shake that up there.
Who would you move?
I would move Arkansas in front of. I would move Arkansas in front of Iowa.
You move Arkansas in front of Cincinnati, Oklahoma, all the way up to 5.
Yes, I would move them the way that they're looking now. I would move them up to possibly number 5. Everything's going to pan out this weekend, and we'll see the real Arkansas team
Okay,
against Georgia.
because I got, it may be the hottest of the hot takes ever, but when we go back and come back to the games that we're going to we're gonna spotlight, I got some things to say about that Georgia Arkansas game. Going down, we still have at 11 Ohio State, 12 Ole Miss, 13 BYU. BYU is always somewhere around the top 20 during this time of year because I think BYU is in the Mountain West, I believe. Not not a whole lot of competition. I'm using air quotes here. Not a whole lot of competition, but um, uh, Michigan comes in at number 14. I always think Harbaugh is on the hot seat because has he beat Ohio State yet?
He has not beaten them, and if he doesn't beat them this year, I think they will get rid of him.
You think so?
Yeah, because if you don't beat your rival within 4 years, and he's had about 4 years. If you don't beat your rival, I don't care what your record is, you got to go. And back to your Bama fans, Bill Curry was 10-2 his last year.
Yeah,
He couldn't beat Auburn.
That's the Bill Curry curse right there. You could be 10-2 and still get fired if you don't beat your cross state rival. Yeah, or your big rival. Texas A&M coming in at 15. It it was so much hype around Jimbo going down to Texas A&M. Um, I always thought that he would see a little of the hot seat, but he hadn't so far. Guess because they, you know, back
And
then.
how many years has he been there? Because
Uh,
you would think that like around this time he should have a top 5 team at least.
yeah,
And
you think so?
for all the hype and the money that he's getting paid, I would put him on the hot seat. I would put Jimbo Fisher on the hot seat
Okay.
because he hadn't produced. He hadn't even won the SEC West.
Yeah. I mean, it'll take a little investigation, but I'm wondering how close that he has he ever been to it? Because he had a pretty good team 2 years ago, I think. I'd have to check that.
But I think every year that he's been there, he's had the same quarterback. This year's different.
Oh, okay, because he had what's the
I,
kid's name?
I forget his name, but he
Is
he
it
was
Mond?
durable for the
Kelly Mond?
Kelly Mond.
Kelly Mond. Yeah.
He was durable for the 4 years he was there.
Yeah. All right, so now we go from like 16 to 20. Coastal Carolina, Michigan State at 17. Fresno State coming in at 18. You got Oklahoma State 19, UCLA at 20. It's always, when you get down to this portion, that last 10, I really don't know a whole lot about Coastal Carolina. I just know that they seem, everybody seems to love them. They're this lovable group of kids who go down there and all scrappy. We all know what would happen if they stepped up, but
Yes. But
uh,
at the rate that they're going, and they go to a bowl game, bowl game is one and done. So you can throw everything at an opponent and just about beat them. You can throw a kitchen sink at them and you can just about beat them. But if you had to go, and all the measuring stick is the SEC. If you had to go through an 8-game conference in the SEC, that kind of determines what kind of team you have
yeah,
nationally.
absolutely. And conference play starts this weekend. I'm so
Yes.
excited. I'm so
Yes.
excited. I mean, I know that you had asked the question. Me and you had talked about one time when you said, "Is college football now turning out to be like college basketball, where there are no cupcakes?"
Right.
Right. In a sense, I would say yes, because I think that that it's a bigger deal in college football during the regular season when a powerhouse is beaten by somebody who you would think that they could beat, right? When like App State beat Michigan. Yeah. In college basketball, it may happen on like a Thursday night in the Western Conference at 2 o'clock Eastern time, 2 a.m. Eastern time, where you really don't know. And you'll wake up, if somebody beat Gonzaga, if Fresno State beat Gonzaga and some game, and you wake up and you start watching Sports Center and you go, oh, that's interesting. It's not as a big a deal as it would be when it's in the NCAA tournament, right?
Right.
So that's the big deal. But back to your question, I really think that you are right. I don't think I just don't. I think that there's so many programs now, and the talent has spread out so wide that there's nothing as a real cupcake as far as because anybody can be beat.
Yeah, because of the transfers that are happening now, you can get a transfer to go to a lower level school.
Well, yeah, you
And
saw that.
go ahead, go ahead.
No, I mean, you just we saw that earlier in the season with the kid who plays with Jacksonville State that came out of Clemson, who was there during the time that Kelly Bryant and Trevor Lawrence was there. He just
Yes.
he just knew he wasn't going to get on the field, so he went down there to down to Jacksonville State, and they're FBS team, but it's still one of these guys, a highly touted D1 recruit, going somewhere else because that's where he's gonna get the playing time. But yeah, I think to a point there are no real cupcakes anymore, because anybody can be beat. But then there are some times when you just know, it. What was the old thing back in the day when if you had like three names in a direction in your name, you just know you're gonna get like if you're like Western Kentucky State.
Yeah. You're there for the money.
Yeah, Eastern Montana University at uh,
But
you might.
it's really not like, I mean, in a sense, yes, and it depends on the conference that these schools come from. But I still think that on any given day with these transfers, a team can be beaten.
Yeah,
I wouldn't put big money on all of this, but there are
no,
some certain teams that can get beat.
I wouldn't bet on it, but yeah,
You remember when we talked about UAB and Jacksonville State and
yeah,
how they fare in each conference? UAB goes to Georgia and lose what 56-0,
yeah,
and Jacksonville State goes to Florida State and beat them.
and wins. Yeah,
And you never know.
right. Yeah, that is an excellent point. Yeah, and so continuing on, Michigan State, Fresno State, Oklahoma State, and UCLA round out the top 20. I guess UCLA is still riding on that LSU win. Um, and that's another coach I think maybe on the hot seat. Is weird because he just won a national championship, right? But it's all about the fan base. How long can you wait until the next time that you're good?
Yeah,
So
I
I don't
think
know.
this week's game against Auburn will kind of solidify, his hot seat status.
That
If he can beat Auburn Saturday, then
now,
I think it gets a little cooler.
do you think it's if if he beats Auburn or how he beats Auburn?
I think if it doesn't matter how he beats Auburn. If he beats Auburn, that seat gets a little cooler.
So you think that if he goes down and if it's defensive struggle, it's
It it
18,
it
18,
really
18,
doesn't matter.
10. Yeah,
It could be a 3-2 game. It doesn't matter. If he beats Auburn, his seat gets a little cooler.
yeah. Okay. All right. So rounding out, we got Baylor coming in at 21, Auburn at 22, NC State and she stayed sneaking in there. Obviously, after that win at Clemson at 23, Wake Forest 4-0 at 24, and then I know you're gonna say something about it, so I'm gonna go ahead and
Yes,
say it now. Clemson is still in the top 25 at 2-2.
they are going to make Clemson relevant no matter what. Clemson may finish the season 6-5, and they'll be number 25. They're going to make them
I,
relevant. So
I don't think that'll happen.
I think they're going to make them relevant.
I,
So.
I think that'll be just a bit too obvious, right there.
Because look at it, they are the only two-loss team in the top 25. And who have they beaten to stay in the top 25?
I know. But so where do they start the season at? 3?
I think they were either 2 or 3. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I mean, so that's still a pretty far drop, right? It's from 2 to 25, and we had the conversation in the first podcast, the first one we did, when we talked about what what Clemson really is missing, right? Everybody talks about Trevor Lawrence, but we kind of talked about how it was not so much Trevor Lawrence, but more Travis Etienne, more running game, and it's just um,
Clemson doesn't have a running game.
no, not now.
They don't have. I think that kid. I'm gonna call him DJ because I can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, I don't
But
want to butcher it.
I think that kid is a good quarterback. The pieces he have around him, they're not complementing his skills.
Yeah, and the other thing, Mark, is that there's always these cliches that float around about football, right? It's always that you got to have a running game. Running game equals a passing game, right? If you can run the ball, then off the play action you should be able to pass. But all that, to me, really saying is that if you control the line of scrimmage, you're going to be able to do things offensively that you need to do to put points on the board, right? Whether it's running the ball, protect the quarterback, or whatever. Clemson just does not control the line of scrimmage like they used to.
And we're going to come back to that. I love the statement you just made. That's the key statement for the Georgia and Arkansas game. That statement you just made there.
Yeah. Okay, that's good because we'll talk about that. All right. I mean, so that's the top 25. Um, I'm kind of okay with it mostly. Um, I mean, I don't see a whole lot of. I think Oklahoma is due to lose, right? They just, they that type of magic can't happen every week. You know, Kansas State should have beat them. I thought.
No,
Uh,
no. It wasn't Kansas State. It was Tulane or Tulsa. It
Tulane,
was
Tulane, I think Tulane should have beat them. Um, Penn State probably should have lost to Auburn.
yes,
You know,
yes.
and it's hard to say a team should have done. Something should have happened that didn't happen, but Penn State probably should have lost to Auburn. I mean,
They're
there's a
not a
couple.
top four. They're not a top 14.
No,
They are not a top 14.
there's a couple of dubious calls, right? A couple of things that happen, a couple of things that you can go back and point to, right? But I don't think they're a top 14. Um, I like Arkansas at 8 for now. Uh, I just have a lot of within me that I have to deal with, a lot of Notre Dame hate. I'm gonna have to find some type of group that I can go to every week to see if we can see if I could get this off. There's got to be some type of group I can get with. Uh, I just got a lot of Notre Dame hate because you know they
and
have
and,
their
and
own.
I understand the hate too. They're going to always have a great season, but you put them in that playoff, and somebody's just going to drag them up and down the field. And it's something about them. I don't know. It's almost like you're going to stay an independent all this time. You don't want to be in a conference,
Yeah,
and now
yeah,
you can sneak in and do all the stuff that you
yeah, yeah,
prove,
yeah, yeah,
prove yourself.
Yeah, but you got this figure if so conferences are usually football decisions, right? So
Right.
um, if Notre Dame was in a conference, I would probably think that they would opt for the Big Ten, vice the ACC, where 'cause I think Notre Dame basketball plays ACC, right?
Hmm.
Um, I think that they would probably opt for the Big Ten, and then probably more money in the Big Ten because the Big Ten network and so on and so forth. Um, but if you go to Big Ten, that means every year, you got to face Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State, Iowa, Penn State. So now, I mean, I don't know how many of those teams they play. I got to look at the schedule again, but there's no getting around it. You know,
No.
there's no getting around conference play, right? So unless you're like Alabama doing Bear Bryant when they didn't play Georgia for 4 years when Herschel Walker was there, but that's a, that's a completely different conversation. So I mean, I think they would opt for it for the Big Ten, but again, I really don't like them at 9 because I don't think they're that good. I mean, I saw them play twice. Uh, I, I just don't think they're that. I don't think they're 9 in the country good.
And at the end of the year, they're going to be in the consideration for the playoffs. Just hey, get your get your guy on speed down so you get some couch times.
Yeah, I mean, but if they run the table, of course they are. But again, as I look at now the top 9, Bama, Georgia, Oregon, Penn State, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Arkansas, Notre Dame, right? Everybody else, most of these guys I think are gonna lose here. Uh, but let's just say hypothetically, Alabama runs the table. Alabama doesn't play Georgia in the regular season, right? I don't think
No.
so. So Georgia runs the table. Oregon runs the table. Penn State has to play Iowa, so one of them is eliminated. Uh, Oklahoma runs the table. Arkansas has to play Georgia and Alabama, so let's say one of them is eliminated. Notre Dame could still run the table.
And get in the top four, like I
Yeah,
say.
yeah.
Because I think the only stumbling block they may have is Clemson.
You
And I
think
think
so,
I think that's the only stumbling because they've got to go to Clemson this year to play.
Mark? I mean, yeah. I, Clemson just isn't good.
They're
I
not
mean,
good, but we're talking about hey, Notre Dame beat them last year. They beat them physically up and down the field. And there's a revenge factor in that.
I know what you're saying. I do know what you're saying, but even with the revenge factor, even with that thing that football players take out on the field with them that you can't see, um, you know that lock that bill that bulletin board stuff that somebody said, and that's what we're gonna rally around type of thing. Clemson's just not good, not this year. I
And they're not this good. I mean, they're not that good. They really aren't that good because the quarterback. I think he's the best athlete on offense, and he has nothing around him. The offensive line has failed him. Has failed him.
right. And so I don't think I mean so I understand what you're saying that Notre Dame has to go down to Clemson to play, and that's a very uninviting atmosphere down there. Stadium's probably going to be packed. It's going to be uh, uh, however many fans can sit in there, standing room only. But at the end of it, when the smoke clears and the ashes cool, Clemson's just not that good. I mean, now they are Clemson, right? And so I know Dabo and the rest of those guys down there are reloading. They're gonna get some kids down there who can just flat out play football, and they'll be good again. But this year, 2021, But anything can happen. We'll see. Anyway, so let's switch gears
Mm-hmm.
and let's talk about the two games that we think are going to be um, kind of the showcase for this weekend. They're both the SEC games. Um, let's go with mine first, which is Arkansas and Georgia. I want you to be ready for this. All right. I know you're sitting down because I can see you. All right. But I need you to be ready for this. And I need you to understand where I'm coming from. All right. I'm just gonna say it, and then we may have to move on to something else. I think Arkansas is gonna beat Georgia this weekend. I think Arkansas can run the ball. I don't think Georgia has faced anyone who can run the ball. Yeah. I think I think that I, I I I think Georgia may enter this contest with the mentality that this is Arkansas, but not understand that this isn't Arkansas. This is a new team, and I get that Kirby Smart probably, in the locker room every day or on the field every day saying, "Hey guys, we got to play these guys like it's the last game," and going through the rah rah speech. But I believe that they're going to go in there, they can get stunned in the first half, and have to put in too much energy to try to get back. I think Arkansas wins this game and shocks the SEC. If Arkansas wins this game, the SEC is wide open after that.
Okay.
Wide open.
I like your prediction. I love the prediction. And here's my rebuttal to that. Arkansas, their two major victories against Texas and who else? Was it Texas A&M?
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M was a neutral site. They played Texas at Arkansas. This is their real. This is their first real test. They got to go into Georgia to play. The one key factor, all Georgia has to do, and this is what Kirby Smart is probably saying. KJ Jefferson, Arkansas's quarterback. If they key on him, that's Arkansas's offense. If they control Arkansas's quarterback, that's the game. I think it's going to be a good game. But Georgia in the end will be too big and too strong.
Is home field advantage is that overplayed? Is that is that do we make too much of that? Because I think that you're making too much
I
of
can't
playing
make
at
too
Georgia.
much of the fans bring out these players, and at Georgia, they're fighting. Kirby Smart is fighting for his football coaching life this year. I think it's all or nothing now. It is all or nothing.
I disagree with that completely. Kirby, wait. Okay, you know what? I don't disagree with it completely because Kirby Smart has taken them to the edge. I don't think anybody's going to get them as far as he has because they've been in the national championship game a couple of times since he's been there, right?
Just one time, but they've been in the SEC championship twice, I think.
Was it just one? Okay, they lost to Alabama.
Right, and I think they've lost to Alabama 3 times under him, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
2 SEC championship games and the national championship.
And that's okay. All right.
It could be 1-1. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I still think that you may be over. I think you're overestimating the actual that home field advantage means that much. That playing in your home field has that much of an advantage, gives you that much of an advantage.
But my thing, Arkansas, they're a good team, but the media is hyping Arkansas up. They have a good team, but they are hyping them. Arkansas has not played outside of their perimeter. They've got to go into Athens to play the number 2 team in the country. and you got a rabid dog like Kirby Smart that wants to win. He wants to win right now because he's at every chance. He's at every chance to win a national championship. He wants to win right now. I don't think Arkansas will escape out of it. I think Georgia is going to drag Arkansas up and down the field.
Hey, you want to hear conspiracy theory? You want to hear one of my conspiracy theories? This is a conspiracy theory. I think that Alabama goes into Ole Miss.
No, Ole Miss goes
I
into
mean,
Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah, Alabama and Ole Miss play this weekend, right? Arkansas and Georgia play this weekend. I think that if Georgia does what you say and kind of runs Arkansas off the field, and Ole Miss plays with Alabama, sticks with Alabama, makes it a game, I think that the voters really want to see somebody in that number one spot besides Alabama. I think that they would put Alabama at number two, put Georgia at number one, even though both teams win. Even if Alabama wins, but it's not a decisive win.
They've got to win big, is what you're saying.
If
They've got to win big.
If Alabama doesn't win big, if I'm not turning the TV off in the second quarter, if I'm not turning TV off at halftime, going out to blow leaves because I don't feel like doing it next week, that means Alabama's going to be number two at the next point. I think they're looking for a reason. I just don't think that there's a real concrete reason to keep putting Alabama and again, this is coming from a lifetime Bama fan, to keep putting Alabama at number one when they've had some sort of lackluster performances, especially the Florida game. I thought they should have played a little bit better against Florida. They pounded Mercer, but it's Mercer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just my conspiracy theory. If it comes true, then you heard it here first. Everybody's out. Everybody's out to get Alabama this year. But Mark, I really think that Arkansas, regardless of having to go down there between the hedges in Georgia, plays Georgia to the point where I think they come out with a victory.
I cannot see it. Georgia has, and I got to give it, Georgia has a great defense this year. They kind of lights out defense this year.
They do, but let's go back to the first game that Georgia played against Clemson. Clemson's offense isn't that good. Georgia defense is fantastic, right? So they cancel each other out. The thing is this with me. Clemson's defense isn't really that good either, but Georgia couldn't put up a whole lot of points on them.
Okay, so there's not a lot of teams that have scored points on Clemson this year. I mean, even though they beat Wake Forest 14-6, Wake Forest still scored 6 points.
They had been playing murderer's row out there.
So I think the defense is ahead of the offense when you're talking Clemson now.
Okay, all right. So that's I know that's the hottest of the hot take. I get it, but I'm saying right now, right here, I think Arkansas wins that game. I think Arkansas wins that game. I think it's close. I think that Arkansas finds a way to put up what we consider significant points on a very, very good Georgia defense. I think they put up at least 21, maybe 23 points on Georgia. I think it's 23-19, 23-16, somewhere in there, man.
I think Arkansas is going to show their true colors this week. I'm not saying that they don't have a good football team. They're just going to show their true colors going into.
You see this? This is the pen. I'm writing it down. 23-16. ARK. Arkansas, baby.
And,
right.
and let me write one down for me. 35-13, Georgia.
35-13. 35-13.
35-13.
Okay, 35-13 UGA. All right. All right, let's go to the let's keep this up and go to the second game we're going to spotlight. And you think Alabama and Ole Miss are going to be it's going to be another game that's going to have some deep ramifications this weekend.
I think that these two games will have the highest viewings for Saturday.
Alabama Ole Miss.
Alabama, Ole Miss, and Georgia, Arkansas.
Well, I mean, the only reason I think the Alabama Ole Miss will have, but because conference play has started, right?
But I
That's what.
mean, nationally now, these are going, you know,
Yeah,
these are
but
going to have a lot of viewers.
I don't think it's. I think Alabama wins in a rout, man. I mean, I get Lane Kiffin's down there. Does he have a defense this year?
They've got pieces out there. How about
All right.
that? As far as they got pieces out there that were better than last year.
So Kiffin, obviously, and I'm, we could go back and look at all of his teams and kind of take it team by team from I guess Tennessee to USC and back down to Ole Miss. He is not a guy who wakes up at night saying, in a cold sweat, going, "Oh God, I don't have an edge rusher," right? He's just not a defensive minded person. That's why he got his dad to come out to do a lot of stuff with him, who was a defensive genius, Monty Kiffin.
Yes.
Lane Kiffin just likes to he's like put points on the board. He's one of these guys that he's got that George Gervin Iceman mentality. If I score 50 and you score 46, that means I won, right? Right?
And
I'm,
this game, you're saying it's going to be a rout. I said it'll be a rout in the score and like an over and under. I'll go over 70 in this for this game here.
no, I don't think they're gonna. I
I'm
don't
going to
think they're gonna
go
put up.
over 70.
I don't think they're gonna put up them kind of points on Alabama. Man. I mean, uh, Bama's defense is not a Bama defense that we've been kind of accustomed to seeing, but I don't think Ole Miss puts up those type of points on Alabama.
So you think the Ole Miss offense from this year is not the Ole Miss offense from last year?
I just
I
well,
think I think it is much better than last year.
I'm going to plead ignorance on this because I hadn't watched a whole lot of Ole Miss football. I'm going to go and do some research after the podcast, but um, I just don't. That would that would amaze me. I would really be um, I'd really be taken aback if Ole Miss could put up the type of points that you over 70.
And Matt Corral to me is like in the SEC. He's like the Steph Curry in basketball. I mean, he can throw the ball around, and if he has time, he will pick a secondary apart. That's why I say they can score 30 or more points on Alabama.
So you're thinking Alabama may lose this game?
I never said that. I just said the over and under. I got
Well,
over 70 points. I'm not
okay,
saying
all right, okay. Well, I'm gonna have to paint you into a corner then, push you into a corner. Gun to your head. Ole Miss, Alabama, Sunday morning. Me and you do our Sunday morning call like we always do. Am I saying to myself, am I trying to figure out how Alabama can still get to a national championship with a loss at Ole Miss?
well, of course, you know I'm not an Alabama fan, but I'm going to say Alabama will win. It'll be a controversy win. It'll be a controversial win.
A controversial. It's gonna
It'll
be
be a country.
some type of call is gonna happen, right?
Yes, it'll be a controversial. But my over and under, last time I said this, it'll be over 70 points. Write
All
it
right.
down.
So
Take a picture.
I'm writing it down. I'm writing it down. 70 points. Alabama, Ole Miss. All right.
Yes.
I know that I just don't. I think Alabama's defense is better than that, man. I think they're better than you think Ole Miss is going to put up like 30, 35 points.
I think they can put up, Jimmy, more than 30 points. They can put up more than 30 points on that defense.
I well, I mean, so obviously I got to watch more football. I, I, I got to watch more football, man, because that's a bold move, Cotton.
Hey, I'll eat crow at the end of this if it doesn't happen. But I think that offense can score more than 30 points on them.
All right. All right, so let's change gears once again and let's talk a little Auburn football. I know that you're a big time Auburn fan. I am not. Obviously, I'm a Bama fan. But during the week, yeah, because you and I keep in such good close contact with each other, we were having a text conversation. And the other night, you said, "Hey, did you hear that Auburn fired its wide receiver coach?" Uh, I said to myself, "I don't even know who Auburn wide receiver coach is, but but tell me more." And he started going in on about the guy. He came from Troy, I think.
Yeah.
He was down at Troy State for about 6 years. Go Trojans, because that's my alma mater. Um, and you thought it interesting that they would fire a position coach this early. That the firing of a position coach would be this much of a story this early in the season. So, give me your thoughts on that.
It's a big story because the way I look at it, I mean, I can say scapegoat firing. I think it was more on the offensive coordinator, who I think the offensive coordinator threw the receivers coach under the bus. That's just my own personal opinion because things are not going the way that the offense should be running. Your offensive coordinator is the CEO of the offense, basically, right? So he's supposed to oversee the line. He's supposed to oversee the receivers, well, the coach is the CEO, but in on that side of the ball, the offensive coordinator controls everything. So if your receivers coach is having problems getting your receivers to do routes or anything like that, then you don't fire the position coach. You work with him and you get these things straight. I need these receivers to do this, this, or this. But you don't throw the receivers coach under the bus because your quarterback is not up to par like he should be in his third year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I agree with that. It just seems it just seems weird to me that the this firing happened um so early in the season. And I mean, I know we're but 4 games in, right? This is week 5. That it happened so early in the season. I've always been of the mindset, of the mentality that and we talked about this after I think his name is Helton was fired at USC.
Mm-hmm.
After the first game is that you fire a guy, after a bowl loss, then it's his fault. You fire a guy, you know, after the first game of the next season, then that's your fault. Right? It
Mm-hmm.
just it just seems to me to be sort of weird that Helton. I mean, I'm sorry, not Helton. Um, this coach, I think his name is Cornelius Williams.
Yes, that was a receivers coach. Yes.
Yeah, was fired after the fourth game of the year. And then I did a little research, and we talked about previously. Um, um, Bo Nix isn't really throwing the ball down the field,
No, he's not.
right? They're not trying to stretch the field any. So I don't understand if that's not happening. Then what is the wide receiver coach not doing that should be getting done that will that would facilitate longer passes? Because I think
Exactly.
Bo Nix
Exactly.
he's averaging like 11 yards per pass. which isn't a lot. And I don't know how big an arm he has. I I've heard he's got a pretty big arm. He's a starting quarterback on a D1 college team, so he should have a pretty big arm. But 11 yards of pass, that's long handoffs at some point.
Right,
You
right.
know, so um, the other thing that we talked about is that um, during that game, the last game that Auburn played, um, and that was against
Georgia State.
Georgia State. Bo Nix was benched, and he was benched for T.J. Finley. So, one, I want to get your thoughts on just the overall benching of your starting quarterback for his backup, and two, let's go into who do we think that Auburn is going to start that next game. So, why do you think that outside of just trying to win the game, what do you think the mentality was behind the benching of Bo Nix in that Georgia State game?
Okay, the concept you came up with the coach, like with Helton. If you fire him after the bowl game,
Yeah,
then it's
yeah, yeah.
his fault. Okay, Bo Nix should have been, I'll say, benched last year, but he had a head coach that was not going to sit him, no matter what.
That's
Bo
Coach
Nix,
Malzahn.
Malzahn, but we don't have to mention him. But we just say the former coach because there were games where that coach could have looked at another quarterback to give a spark. That's all you look for. Sometimes your team looks for a spark in a game. Bo Nix get benched at Georgia State. Now Finley comes in. Now the team is up now. Everybody's fired up. You got the crowd into this and everything. And every pass that Finley throws, everybody's on pins and needles to see what's going to happen. And it all worked out in the end because he was the spark that offense needed. He didn't do a whole lot. He missed a lot of passes, but he was the spark that the offense needed.
So, let me ask you this question, because obviously you watch more Auburn football than I do. Is T.J. Finley a better quarterback than Bo Nix? You think?
At this point, yes, I think he is. He's a
Okay,
bigger, stronger quarterback, and I think he's got a better skill set.
okay. So to question two, um, Auburn goes down to LSU to play this weekend.
Yes.
Who is under center when the clock starts at um, in the first quarter? Is it Bo Nix or do they start T.J. Finley? Who do you think is
This
going to start?
this is going to be a surprise to you. I will start Bo Nix. I will give him a quarter, basically to redeem himself. If I don't get the results after that first quarter from him, he can't say he didn't get a chance or anything, and I bring in Finley to finish the game. But I would start Bo Nix that first quarter.
That's interesting. That's a very interesting take on it because my take is the complete opposite, right? I think that you have to start T.J. Finley because if you start Bo Nix, right? If you start Nix in this game and he doesn't perform and you pull him and you go to Finley, Bo Nix is done. He's
I
not.
mean, that's basically what's about to happen. If you start Finley, Bo Nix is done anyway.
No, 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 no. If you start Finley and Finley can't produce against LSU, then you bring Bo Nix in there, then you are literally back on an even kill. But if you start Nix and you have to pull him again, then he is never going to be able to quarterback the Auburn Tigers again.
That's why you give him a chance, and if
It
he has another mindset after the season, that's just it. But he gets that chance.
isn't
I
that
get what
too
you're saying.
isn't that too much of pressure on Nix though? Isn't that too much undue pressure on Bo Nix? Because if you put him in there, the only thing that he's thinking is TJ Finley's right behind me. If I
It
if I if I if I throw a pick or if I if if the quarterback coach sees that I'm tight, if they see me pressing, all the pressure is going to start just collapsing on him.
But in that every D1 school that has two quarterbacks that are capable of starting, I mean, you have to put that out of your mind. Florida has two quarterbacks that are capable of starting, and it's worked in their system.
Yeah, it works when you're winning.
Right, exactly, exactly,
All right.
exactly. And that's the main thing is winning.
I mean, I I get it. I understand what you're saying. I would be surprised if Finley doesn't start this game because if Bowden,
If Finley starts, then you're saying Bo Nix is finished.
no,
Because if you bring him back in and he still has the subpar performance, then what do you do then? Now you got two inept quarterbacks now in a game, and you just gonna, hey.
no. What I'm saying, Mark, is this: is that if you have if you have two inept quarterbacks, you just have two quarterbacks who are inept, right? And I don't think either one of those guys, or I think they're both fantastic football players. But what I'm saying is that if you have two quarterbacks who can't do what you want them to do, then you just have that. What I'm saying is that these are two guys who obviously both can play the position. What I'm saying is that if you start Finley, right? Now Finley is relaxed. He's just playing football. He's not looking over his shoulder, right? If you start Nix, then that is putting undue pressure on him because he's going to think the whole time back to that Georgia State game that if I throw a pick or if I'm short arming balls or if I don't move through my progressions quick enough, everybody, the coach is going to see it and they're going to pull me.
So you don't think that Finley is looking over his shoulder for Knicks? You can have one or two bad games in the season, and you can. The same thing happened with Aaron Rodgers. What was everybody saying? The Packers are done. Aaron Rodgers, he's done. Look what he's done now. Now he's the darling of the
Well,
NFL again.
Aaron Rodgers is a football god, so I don't know what.
Okay, see, I mean, but that's after that first game, everybody kept saying Aaron Rodgers is done.
That was just completely knee jerk hot takes, right? Knee jerk reactions and hot takes, which that industry lives on. But if Bo Nix starts that game, I think that it is undue pressure on him. I think that there's no reason to. You already pulled him, right? You
And
already pulled him. If Finley starts and he continues to play well, then then everybody says, okay, um, Brett Harrison made the right call to put Finley in there, to leave Finley in there. If you start Nix and he does poorly, now everybody's questioning your move. Everybody's questioning that move. Why are you putting this kid in there? Because he's going to be pressing. He's going to be looking over his shoulder constantly. He's just not going to. And this is in Georgia State they're playing, right? They getting ready. They about to play some man football down there in
okay, so
in
I
LSU.
get that going to Baton Rouge, but look, if okay, so let's say TJ Finley starts off bad or starts off poorly. Bo Nix comes in and he saves the day like Finley did. Now what do you do?
Well, Bo Nix was a starting quarterback for this team already, so you stick with Nix. I'm just
See, that's
saying.
what so I mean now you flip flopping with
Is Finley a senior?
no,
I didn't check.
Finley's got 3 years left. I mean, he left LSU after his
After
freshman
his
year,
freshman year?
and he gained a year for the.
Oh, for COVID.
So he's got 3 years.
Oh, so Finley is the future of the.
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
all right. You know what? That kind of puts a different thing on it, right? That puts a different shake in the bag. All right. Uh, um. So, but I still think that Bo Nix is obviously the more seasoned quarterback. Um, and you fail to bring this up because I think that you're just looking at kind of purely who is going to serve Auburn as the best quarterback versus LSU. But you did bring something up when we were talking the other day. You said that Bo Nix has had what 3 offensive coordinators since he's gotten there.
I think it's been 3. Yes.
Yeah, so it's impossible for him to be able to, not impossible, but it's difficult for him to be able to go out and perform the way that someone who has had it been in a constant system, like obviously they're trying to put Finley into now, um, to be able to
But
operate.
think about Finley. This is his second. This is his second offensive coordinator.
New team though,
New team, but he's
new
still
team.
going up under a different system, and he's having to learn that too. It's just a natural skill set that will get you over the top. You know, some people are better, are quick learners, and can adapt to any kind of situations.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't know what type of offense that Auburn is running, and that is a failure on my part. I should have done a little bit more investigation on that, but it does seem like they stretch the field a whole lot. These guys aren't going back making, you know, 2 deep, 3 deep progressions to be able to, to throw the ball downfield. It looks like it's a lot of dink and dunk. I think, especially if their starting quarterback only averages 11 yards a pass.
Hmm.
Um, so
I give you that one. I give you that one.
so it's not necessarily a complicated offense. And plus, you got the kid back there. Who is it? Tank Grigsby, or is it, how you pronounce it?
Bigsby.
Tank Bigsby. Yeah, he's legit, right? That kid can run the ball. So um, so Auburn's not a team that's going to pick you apart in the passing game, obviously.
No, no.
I think going back to our original question, I just think that that to start Bo Nix would be a mistake because if you start him and he fails, that's it. Now Finley is just your guy for the rest of the season. Win,
Well,
lose, or draw.
if they can stick with that, then I'm all for it. But if Finley has a bad game, I'm looking for Knicks to come in there and save the day.
That's a lot of pressure.
That's a lot of pressure, but I'm looking for him to come in and save the day.
That's a lot of pressure. All right. So I think that we're down to our last topic, which is something very near and dear to my heart, which is high school football. There is nothing better than Friday Night Lights. Period. Period. I remember growing up right there in Fairfield. I remember hearing um, people talk about, and this is like moving into like a little politics, but not really politics, but religion and because all this stuff is kind of wrapped up in sports, right? What they used to say the most segregated time in America was between 8 and 11 on Sunday. That's because everybody, black and white people went to different churches, right? Well, I think that you can say the most integrated time in the South when we were growing up was between 7 and 10 on Friday night, right? Because everybody was at that stadium. I don't care who you were or what you were doing, you were at Clemens Field between 7 and 10 on Friday. And though I have sort of, been separated from Fairfield football for all these years, you have not. You follow them. You've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that the good, the bad, and the ugly was was all kind of all in, balled up into this one incident on last Friday when Fairfield played Jackson Ola. When the Tigers played Jackson, what is Jackson? What is their mascot?
Mustangs.
Jackson on the Mustangs. You know what? I'm gonna give you a quiz real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Jackson on the Mustangs. What was Inslee?
Angela was a Yellow Jacket.
Inslee was a Yellow Jacket. Pleasant Grove.
The Spartans.
Spartans. What about Gardendale?
They the Rockets.
Terrence City.
Tarrant, I think they were the Wildcats.
Man, you're killing it. McAdory.
McAdory Yellow Jackets.
Abrams.
Oh, that's a good one. I forgot about Abrams. Blue Devils or what?
It was something like that. I can't think of
Uh,
it. Hold on. I'm just trying to go back through my whole year. Fultondale.
Fultondale's Wildcats, I think.
Nah, I thought Fultondale was a Bulldog. Anyway.
No. Wilk. They're the Wildcats. Fultondale.
Fultondale's a Wildcat?
I think they were. I think they are. I'm sorry.
Homewood.
Patriots.
Mountain Brook.
Spartans.
Hoover.
Oh man, what
Your
can I
son,
get?
your son went to Hoover.
My son.
Your son played on the state championship team at Hoover.
I don't know. I got blank on that one. The Bucks, Jim. The Buccaneers.
The Buccaneers, man. All right. Anyway, so last Friday, the Fairfield played Jackson Nolan, and one of the weirdest endings to a football game that I've ever heard of happened after that game. Now, just for some context, Friday night, I'm getting ready to go to bed. You know, I'm on the East Coast, and my brother Mark obviously is in Alabama. That's his Central Time. So it's an hour difference. So I get a text. He says, "Hey, are you still up?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Okay, hold on. I'm gonna give you a call." And the phone rings. I say, "Hey, what's up?" He says, "Hey, I want to tell you about how this game ended tonight." And the first thing I say, did Fairfield win? And he says, "Yes and no." And then he goes on to explain to me what happened. So, Mark, tell me or tell the listeners what happened in this game.
All right, Fairfield's playing Jackson Nolan, and it's been a good game all the way until the end. Fairfield drives, scores what, 26-20? Fairfield drives down the field, score a touchdown. They missed their extra point, and now we're going into overtime. No, I'm sorry. They tied the score at 20-20. And Fairfield got the ball in overtime, and they scored a touchdown, and they missed their 2-point conversion. So
Okay.
the score is 26-20. And Jackson Owens is about to get the ball in overtime.
So
And
Fairfield's up in overtime.
Fairfield's up. Fairfield's up. The crowd is going berserk.
It's electric.
The crowd is going it is crazy out there.
Now, I think for a little context, we have to mention that Jackson Nolan had beaten the number 3 or number 4?
Number 3 team in the state. 3A.
Right.
Number 3 team in 6A. They beat Pennsylvania.
Right.
The week before.
So this win, if Fairfield beating Jackson Nolan after Jackson Nolan has beaten the number 3 team, may propel Fairfield into the top 20 in Alabama in 5A.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. All right. Go ahead.
Maybe in the top 10. You never know.
Maybe in the top 10. You never know, because that's a big win.
Yes. It would have been a big win.
That's out of conference up.
Yes.
Right?
Out of conference up.
Yeah. All right.
All right. It's 26-20. Jackson Nolan's about to get the ball in overtime. The next thing you know, we look to our left because the plane is going to our right. They're on the right side of going to the end zone. We look to our left. There's a sheriff deputy running on the field, and he's onto the field. He's waving his hands for everybody to get down. First, they tell the players to get down. So we don't know what's going on. The players are getting down. So we hear some commotion over in the parking lot. So everybody's getting down. Now there are a couple more deputies coming into the stands telling everybody to get down. Now it's a madhouse. The band, everybody's on the bleachers. They're sick. They are actually laying down on the bleachers. Some people are not, the majority of them are. So everything is quiet until we see another deputy with Jackson Ola's band running across the field. Now they're telling everybody to run out of the stadium.
Chaos.
It's and everybody that had a phone, they recorded all of this. You can see all of this on social media. Everybody's running out. Some kids are crying. It's just a madhouse. So now they've got to suspend the game.
So
They
the sheriff deputy runs on the field and he says, "Get the band. Everybody get out." Right?
Yeah. Everybody get your
Everybody,
stuff and leave.
everybody
Go.
get out. All the planning and everything that people say we're gonna have an orderly. If something happens, like they when you see like the charts,
Right.
for the fire and whatever,
Throw it
everybody
out.
throw it out the window. It's just chaos. It's just, some lady looking back there. My husband's back there. Hey, your husband's dead. Get out. Everybody, let's go. It's just chaos. Go ahead.
So now they're suspending the game. And now they got everything under control. So now we're walking out. Everything's fine. And then we get word that they're going to play the game on a Saturday at 12 noon.
Now, when you say play the game, what you mean is
they're going to
that
continue the game.
They're going to continue the game. So Fairfield has scored, missed the extra point. They went for 2, right?
Right.
So Jackson Olin is going to come back on a Saturday morning. They're going to get everybody out of bed.
Yes.
Both teams come up, line up on the 10-yard line.
10-yard. That's overtime in high school.
They're going to line up on the 10-yard line with no fans.
No fans. Yeah, that was another thing. No fans can come to the game.
Okay. They're going to line up and they're going to play that overtime.
They played the overtime, and I heard that the overtime lasted 5 minutes.
5 minutes of football on a Saturday morning. To get the results of a game that happened the night before.
Yes.
Now, what you failed to mention is the reason that the sheriffs ran onto the field. Because when we talked about it, when you called me that Friday night, you said there was an active shooter somewhere near the stadium.
Yes.
That caused the commotion, that caused the police department, the sheriff's department to come onto the field to remove the band, the football players, and suspend the game.
Yes. All of the above. Now, Jackson Olin brought 3 buses full of players. They played the game. Well, they finished the game, 5 minutes. They scored a touchdown. They got the extra point. Jackson Olin wins the game.
28-26.
28-26. My thing is, had Jackson Olin got a chance to play in overtime the night before, Fairfield might have won that game. Because it was electric. The fans were out of control happy.
Right.
And I mean, there was so much noise there that I think they would have sparked that team up to stop them from scoring the touchdown.
And what I hear is that Jackson Olin had, I guess they ran a series of running plays, and they had like one of their defensive linemen, some big guy. Yeah. They just turn around, just was giving him the ball, just to plow through there. Something that obviously they came up with, the night before.
And think about it. When we played back in the day, Saturday mornings were for film study. And then you went out and you stretched and you ran a little bit, and that was it. You played a gritty football game the night before. Now you got to wake up, put the pads back on, go on the field. You don't even want to be out there. And it's almost like I could care less if they score or not. The night before we won this football game.
Yeah, and that and this is what I'm probably out wondering, which is trivial, but I'm pretty sure that that the uniforms probably weren't washed,
No,
right?
no,
You
no.
just you just out there in the same funky stank uniform that you played the night before, dripping,
It wouldn't
wet with
surprise
sweat.
me. It wouldn't surprise me if both teams came out there and they practiced. That's how much that was. It was so useless. It was not a conference game. It wasn't a region game. So what's the use? I mean, hey, Fairfield could say they won. If I'm Jackson Hole, Fairfield can say they won the game. I don't want to get. Somebody could have gotten hurt just for those few plays right there.
Well, I'm going to say this about that. If I'm the Fairfield coach and they tell me, "Hey, we're going to bring your team back out here and line them up so Jackson Ola can play their final possession of the game," no, nope. You know what?
Yeah, I would have refused that.
Either I'm going to be the winner, or you're going to just say we forfeit the game.
Before for the game.
If we forfeit the game, then uh, let the record show that when we ran off the field Friday night, my team was up. That, you know what? And that's it. I am not going through a whole lot of rigmarole about it. Uh, we won. You lost. If you want to come back out here Saturday, you know what? Go ahead. Guess you're going to definitely score. You know why? My team won't be here. My team is going to be in the film room, and we're going to be up in the gym stretching.
We'll watch y'all run those plays.
Yeah, we'll watch you run the play. Hopefully you look good doing it, because we won't be around. All right, man. That that phone call, when you were telling me, when you were running me through this whole thing, I'm saying to myself, that is insane. And then Saturday, when you shot me the text and said Jackson Olin won, I couldn't believe they actually let them line up
They
and play a
actually
football
play.
game on Saturday.
Yep.
I get that. Maybe you say to yourself, well, it may be about the kids. You want them to have some type of resolution, some type of closure for a football game. But the other thing is, and this is the biggest thing, you've already played a game that night.
Yes.
Yeah. You come back, these kids are beaten, they're tired. Um, why would you line them up to play this, what seems to be an insignificant a few plays, right? It's not going to do anything with Jackson Olin to beat Fairfield, right? Fairfield's the only team that has something to lose out there.
Yes.
Yeah, Jackson Olin could have lost that game. Maybe they would have slipped in the standings, but still, it's not a region game. And as I look at it, I thought I looked at the region. They're still undefeated in the region. They got a great team. It's just it was just a weird set of events that I could I would have never thought that something like that would happen, especially at a football game. Because who comes back Saturday morning to play 3 downs? That amazed me. That just simply amazed me. Anyway, all right. That was the last topic for the night. So we're gonna go ahead and cut it off.
I gotta put an end into that right there.
Okay, go ahead.
Fairfield won the game. Jackson Olin won the scrimmage.
Yeah. All right, let's go. That's the title. That's the title. A game and a scrimmage. We'll go with that. All right, man. Hey, this was good. Good job, and we will try to do this again next week. A new set of topics, fresh topics, and I think what I want to do is we're going to come back and go over all of these hot takes and all these predictions at the beginning of the next one to make sure that everybody knows I'm right, you're wrong, and we'll get that. All right, man. You got anything else?
Hey, if you do view this, give us comments. I don't care what you put in the comments. Just comment.
Yeah, and just view it. Just view it. We love it. All right. All right, man. That's it.
All right.
All right. All right. That's it, man. I will I'll cut that off after that. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording now.
I told you you can't do